Hello everyone and welcome to this Abacus Next Free Training Thursdays webinar, Document Management on a Whole New Level. Before we get started, I'd like to cover a quick housekeeping item. Because of the number of people on this webinar, all attendees are muted upon entry. If you have any questions during this session, please submit them to me using the question feature in the GoToWebinar panel on the right side of your screen. If we run out of time and there are remaining questions at the end of this webinar that have not been addressed, we will respond to these via email. And with that, let's get started. So again, a warm welcome to everyone for this Free Training Thursdays webinar, Document Management on a Whole New Level. My name is Chris Tober and I'm a trainer here at Abacus Next. And today, as promised, we will be dealing with document management. Now, currently you should be able to see my screen. Today we're working in Bobby Donnell's training office. Now, a quick FYI, I am using the latest and newest version of Amicus Attorney. This is not for general release at this point. However, it will be very soon being released to the general public. So you should be receiving an email asking you to upgrade to the newest version of Amicus. What we're dealing with today is kind of with the newest features in the newest version of Amicus. There are quite a few updates, and one of those updates is how Amicus deals with documents. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, just a quick refresher on what we mean by documents when we're talking about documents with Amicus Attorney. Typically, what we're dealing with are things rather like contracts, retainers, medical records, crash photos, really any kind of documentation that is supporting a file or matter in Amicus. These run the gamut of Word documents, PDF documents. They can also be image formats. They can be WordPerfect documents, Excel spreadsheets, and the like. So any type of document that you're using or has any relation to any of your files and matters can be added to Amicus on either a file or matter. They can also be added to a contact if you need. Now, there are two different ways or schools of thought when it comes to document management in Amicus Attorney. If we go to File Settings, or Firm Settings rather, and Firm Settings, for those of you that are maybe not that familiar with Amicus, Firm Settings are reserved exclusively for Amicus administrators. If you are not an Amicus administrator, you will not be able to access the Firm Settings. Now, if you are able to access Firm Settings and you go to Management, and the newest version of Amicus is slightly different from our previous versions. In order to see the different ways of managing your documents, you will need to click on Configure. However, these options are the same as they are currently available in our most recent general release application, Amicus Attorney 2016. You'll have the option to choose between user managed, Amicus managed, and if you have World Docs, Amicus does support World Docs integration. By default, many of you will undoubtedly be on user managed, and I like to equate user managed as almost being something like organized chaos. User managed entails that Amicus will play a much more hands-off role when it comes to managing documents. Essentially, Amicus will allow you to save and add documents from anywhere, on any workstation, from any location that the Amicus server has access to, and you're able to add those documents to a file or matter or contact in Amicus. This is great as long as everyone is aware that you do need to exercise a little bit of caution when you're adding documents. And let's have a look at first user managed, and then we'll move on to Amicus managed, where a lot of the newest, greatest features in Amicus, the newest version of Amicus, reside. So for those of you that have had experience with Amicus, dealing with Amicus managed documents, we do have on our files and matters here, I'm just going to open up a file, the Bailey Reed Kipling file, and we'll go ahead and add a document to that file. So once we have a file or matter opened, we navigate over to Documents, right? And we can see currently there are no documents currently added to this file. Now we have a couple of ways to add documents to a file in Amicus. One, we can click on New, and from here, Amicus will ask us to specify where that document is located. If I click on Location, Right, I can point to anywhere really. In this case, I'm just going to use my desktop as where our document is located. And I'm going to go ahead and add a document here, natlint.docx. Click OK, and that document is now added to the file. And from within the file, we are able to preview documents. So this is a great feature in Amicus, especially if you add many documents to a file. Rather than having to click and open each file, you're actually able to preview the documents right from here in the file. Now, the preview feature does not work for every single document type. The typical documents that you're able to preview in Amicus would be Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PDF documents, image documents such as a JPEG or GIF or a PNG file. Other documents do not, unfortunately, preview currently. For example, WordPerfect documents. We are not currently able to preview Word documents. You can still add Word documents to a file in Amicus. However, you're not able to preview them from here. There are other ways to add documents to a file other than clicking on the new. You can drag and drop documents from your desktop, for example. I have a document here called default retainer on my desktop. I can just drag and drop, and it too is going to be added to Amicus. And because it's a Word document, I am able to preview that document right here. Now, currently we're in user managed mode. And as I said before, it's kind of organized chaos. The reason we call it organized chaos is that you can add documents from anywhere and put them onto a file or matter, which is not necessarily always a good thing. And the reason being is because I added this particular document from my desktop, and you'll notice that if I bring up the document details window for this document, there is the path where my document resides. This means that if I shut down my computer or my workstation, other people are going to be able to see that the document's been added to Amicus. However, they are not going to be able to preview it, nor are they going to be able to open it because my workstation is not open or on. This is why we always recommend that you add all of your documents from a shared location or accessible to everyone in the firm. I'm just going to go ahead and delete these documents for the moment. And next, we're going to look at Amicus Managed Document Management. So we're going to return to our firm settings, back to Management, Configure, and here I'm going to toggle from User Managed, which again, right, is what most of you are probably using, to Amicus Managed. Now, Amicus Managed entails that Amicus is going to play a much more hands-on role when it comes to document management. And you'll see this in action in a number of places. For one, Amicus will allow you to add a document from anywhere you wish. However, what it will do, it will also copy that document to a central document repository where we will be able to ensure that everyone has access to that document. So that is the major difference between Amicus Managed and User Managed Document Management. There are also a number of other benefits of when going to Amicus Managed Document Management, for example, versioning, which we'll look at in a few moments, and it also allows you to check in and check out documents, which we will also cover as part of today's webinar. Now, when switching to Amicus Managed Document Management, you do need to specify a central location where everyone is going to be saving their documents, or rather where Amicus is going to save all of the documents that all of your users are adding to Amicus. You can see here by default, it's going to go to, and I'm currently working off my server, which ordinarily would be fine. If you are making these changes on a workstation that is not the server, you would want to specify a file path that is accessible to everyone. So I'm going to change that file path. If you just give me a moment here, to one where we know everyone has access. So I've replaced the document path with what's called a UNC file path, and you'll know right away if it's a UNC file path if it has the 2 slashes at the beginning of the file path. ADS 5084 is our Amicus server, And then we have a couple of subdirectories here. And this is the central location where Amicus will always copy or move documents to ensure that everyone will have access to these. Now, if you are going to be moving from user managed to Amicus managed, one thing that needs to take place is that Amicus is then going to move or copy all of your existing documents from wherever they are to that one central location. And this can take some time depending on how many documents you currently have on your files or matters in Amicus. In my case, I can pretty much assure you it's going to be very quick. But we do, as I said, have the option to either copy those documents or move those documents. How you proceed will really be up to you. You can copy them, which means that Amicus will leave all of the documents wherever they currently are, but will make copies of them and move those to a central repository and then link those documents to the files or contacts. You can also do move, which basically means, as you would imagine, Amicus is actually just going to move all of those documents rather than creating copies of them. Move is generally faster. Amicus is going to warn us that this can take some time, as I said, depending on the number of documents. In my case, it's pretty quick. In my case, I also have, because this is a training environment, a lot of documents that I've added to Amicus at one point in the past and then subsequently deleted. So Amicus is warning me that all of these documents that are currently linked to Amicus, Amicus is not able to find them, and that's, again, this is a training environment. I actually deleted all of these documents. So we can safely ignore these. If you are going to be moving from user managed to Amicus managed, you will need to or will want to track down these documents and find out what has gone amiss, right? And then move those manually afterwards. So now we are currently on Amicus managed document management. And if I return to the Bailey-Kipling file, right, we don't currently have any documents here. I'll just save and close and open it again. Right, because I deleted those documents that we'd originally added, they are no longer here. So we're basically dealing with a blank slate. Now we can add documents the same way we did before, simply by adding a document, finding that document on our, in this case, desktop, adding it into Amicus, and that image has now been added into Amicus, this little sun with the smiley face. Now, if I double click and open the document details window, you'll notice a couple of things have changed, namely that we're no longer able to see the file path of where this document exists. And that is because Amicus is, as I said, playing a more hands-on role. It's decided where to put that file or document or image in this case, and that is locked. Right, so even though I added that document from my desktop, Amicus has created a copy of that image into our central depository that we specified earlier, and that is where that document is automatically going to be residing and also where Amicus is linked to. So it is no longer linked to that image on my desktop. If I delete the image on my desktop, it's not going to have any impact on Amicus because Amicus is no longer involved with that particular document. A couple of other things you may have noticed. Now, when you're using Amicus managed document management, you do have the option to check out a document or view only. And this is a feature for Amicus user manage only. Checking out allows you to check out the document. It locks that document for all other users, which means that we aren't able to have two people opening the same document, one person making changes, another person making changes to that original document. The first person saves that document, then the second person saves that document and overwrites those changes that the first person had made. Now with checkout, only one person is able to work on a document at any given time until they check that document back in. If a document is checked out already and another user attempts to view the document, they will only be able to do so in view only mode. Another great feature of Amicus managed document management is versions or versioning. Now, if I make a change to any of our documents, Amicus will keep all of the previous versions of that document and will enable me to view all of those previous versions as we work on them. Currently, we've just added this document, so there are no other versions other than the current version, but in a moment, we'll see how versioning will play out. Another great feature of the new version of Amicus, when we're talking about Amicus Amicus Managed Document Management, is the ability to add folders. In the past, you had to add every single document on one by one or in group, but you were not able to add folders. Now, however, we do have that ability. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this document for the moment. And I'll minimize Amicus here. And on my desktop, I have a folder called Pictures. And within that folder, I have 5 images. In the past, I would have had to select all these images, drag and drop, and add them. Now, however, I can just drag and drop the entire folder. It will add a folder called Pictures, and I double click on that, and then I can bring in and look at each one of those images. So with the new version of Amicus Attorney, we do now have the ability to add folders as part of our document management to better organize all of our documents. Say if we wanted to have a folder for crash photos, if we wanted to have a separate folder for medical records or pleadings or retainers or anything of that nature, we can certainly do so now. But we can also add just individual documents, right, one by one, or we can drag and drop them. Right? And as before, we're able to preview those documents right here in our preview pane. Now, as I said, right, any of these documents that we've added, because we're using user managed, if I double click and open, you'll notice again, right, we have no kind of control as to where this document is. Even though I added those documents from my desktop, Amicus has created a copy of that document in the correct place, the place that we specified, and has linked with that particular document. And as I said, one of the other features that becomes available if you are going to use Amicus Managed Document Management is versioning. So we have current version. Now let's go ahead and check out this document. And so now you'll notice that NatLint is locked out. So any other users that go to this file will see this icon signifying that they are not going to be able to check out the document. Here is the document, right? As before, if we're making any changes to a document that we've added to Amicus, you are using whatever default application you've used in the past, be it Word, WordPerfect, Excel, what have you. If I make any changes to this document, let's say I change make the font super small, change the color, delete a paragraph or paragraphs, and click Save. And then close the document. I can check the document back in. Now that document is available to everyone. And you'll notice that the changes have taken place. There's the font in much smaller. We've deleted some of the information in this document. And if I double click on the document and go to versions, you'll notice that we now have 2 versions of this document, both of which I can view now. The current version, which is the updated version, and the original version as it was when we first added it into Amicus Attorney. Now there is the ability, once you've gone to Amicus Managed Document Management, if you wish to return to User Managed Document Management, you can certainly do so. I should point out that moving from User Managed to Amicus Managed can take some time because as we saw before, Amicus will need to either copy or move those documents wherever they had originally resided to a central place. If we are reverting back to User Managed, it's quite easy. We simply click Finish. It's making sure that all of our documents are in the right place. And we're back to user managed. However, if you are going to be user managed, just remember you are going to lose some of those functionalities that we looked at today. If I go back to our documents here, right, all of our documents are still here. They are, however, as you notice, all in one view, which means that our folders have been collapsed or broken down. So all of our documents are now in one folder. Right? We lose the kind of neat little icons that signify what type of document they are. We can still preview all of those documents. If I open up a document, however, you'll notice that versions is no longer available, and we do not have the ability to check in or check out a document. We can only open that document. All right. And otherwise, when we're talking about document management within Amicus, everything else has pretty much stayed the same with the newest version of Amicus. You can still share your documents via the client portal with your clients if you are a client portal subscriber. You can also, of course, add documents from Word or WordPerfect, depending on what you're using, in the same manner as you would have in the past. And that includes any document assembly documents that you've generated. Otherwise, nothing else has changed in that regard. Everything is the same as it was before. However, hopefully you can see the benefits of using Amicus managed document management. Just to quickly recap the benefits of doing so. One, Amicus will play, as I said, a more hands-on role and will ensure that all of the documents are being stored in the appropriate place. Two, you do have the ability to see previous versions of those documents. And three, you will be able to check in and check out documents to ensure that your staff are not overwriting each other's work if they are both working on the same document at the same time. Now, before we open up the floor to questions, we do have a couple of quick polls. We always value your opinion, and we want to ensure that these webinars are as fruitful as possible. So I'm just going to bring up the poll here. Our first poll: would you like more information about APC? And for those of you that are maybe not that familiar, APC is Amicus Private Cloud. All of your Amicus data will reside in a secure environment, which mitigates the need to have your own IT infrastructure. This is particularly useful nowadays, of course, with the always changing hardware specifications and whatnot. All of that is taken care of by us. So really great resource. So if you wanted to go ahead and, my apologies, I forgot to launch the poll. So you're able to weigh in there whether or not you'd like more information on APC. And again, that is Amicus Private Cloud, a secure environment. It's in the cloud, which means that your data is available to you from anywhere in the world via a secure two-factor authentication login. All right, so I'll just give another 30 seconds or so if you wanted to click our poll and let us know how or if you would like some more information on APC. All right, and we do have one more poll. What areas of Amicus Attorney would you like to see more of in future webinars? So I'll go ahead and launch that this time in a more timely manner. So if you wanted to go ahead and pick a topic that you would like to learn more about in future Amicus Attorney webinars, our free Thursday webinars. And again, I'll just give you a few more moments to put in your your vote. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here, and we'll open up the floor to questions. So I do see that there are a number of questions that have already come in through our question panel, which is always great to see. So we'll start with the first the first question rather. The first question is actually a really great one because it's a feature that a lot of our users wanted, and it's one that we have built into this newest version of Amicus. It deals with subfolders. So the question is, if you're a picture folder and a subfolder from Amicus images, would your subfolder come in too? So yes. As we saw in Amicus Managed, and I'll have to quickly revert back to Amicus Managed Document Management. Just bear with me for one moment here. When we go ahead and add a folder, and even if that folder has subfolders, those folders will also be brought into Amicus Attorney. So for example, in my pictures folder here, I have another folder. And let's go ahead and move this image to that folder. Back into Amicus. Open up the Bailey Kipling file here. And if we drag and drop the folder to our documents, this might be a little tricky. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this first because we already have a folder called pictures. So rather than having to rename it, we'll just add a brand new folder. So within pictures, right, you'll notice that we also have the subfolder that was within pictures called new images, and we can click on that and view that image as well. At the top, we have the breadcrumbs, which allow us to navigate back to whichever folder that we are interested in. The next question, do you have the ability to create folders in Amicus rather than dragging and dropping or importing them? Yes, absolutely. We can go ahead and add a folder. Adding that folder, let's call it newest images. There is that folder, and from here we could, just from our desktop here, just from our desktop, we can drag and drop into that folder. Or we could do as we did before and add that document manually one by one by clicking add and then document. Excellent question. I see a couple of questions actually relating to subfolders. So yes, hopefully that was beneficial for everyone to see, right? You can add as many subfolders as you wish, either by dragging or dropping an existing folder, or in the Documents tab on your file, you can go ahead and add a folder. There's a question about moving from user managed to Amicus managed. So we've seen it twice now at this point. If you are going to be moving from user managed to Amicus managed, Amicus will do the heavy lifting for you in the sense that it will move all of your documents or copy them to the central repository that you have specified. So you do need to tell Amicus where all of your documents are going to reside on the server, and then Amicus will take care of everything. It will move everything to that place and leave it there. If you go back, if you decide to go back to Amicus, if you decide to go back to user managed, which is organized chaos, Amicus will leave all of those documents in place where they currently are. However, subsequent documents will be added from anywhere and will stay wherever those documents are. And again, that's organized chaos. You're basically in charge of ensuring that you and your employees are following best practices and making sure that they're adding documents to a file or contact in Amicus, and that file or document rather is available to everyone. All right, the next question. Any changes for adding files created by document assembly? So no changes, as I mentioned before, in regards to document assembly. When you generate a document using a template that you've created in document assembly, you're given the option to save and add that document to a file in Amicus. And basically, if you are using user-managed document management, You can actually save that document to anywhere that you wish. However, Amicus, again, will create a copy of that document and put it in the central location that you have specified. All right, let's see here. Can I add emails to documents? That's a great question. Adding an email, if you have Outlook integration with Amicus, you are of course able to save and associate an email to a file or contact in Amicus. These emails are treated separately, however. These emails will be found in the email tab, or the communications tab rather, and then my emails on a file. Now, if that email happens to have an attachment and you have autosave attachments enabled on your workstation, the attachments will, however, be found under Documents, and they will be found here under My Documents or under the Document Folders view. All right, there is a question around how documents will look if you're using if you're using Amicus managed and how this will look in Windows Explorer. If you are adding a document to a file in Amicus and you're using Amicus Managed Document Management, what happens is Amicus will, of course, move, as I said a couple of times now, will move that document to the appropriate place. Oh, and I seem to have lost my file path. Just bear with me for one moment. Now, how this looks in Windows is going to be a little bit different. You'll notice that if you are using Amicus Managed Document Management, Amicus has changed the document here. These are all of the documents that we've added using Amicus Managed. However, you'll notice that there isn't really a way to determine what those documents are, and that's on purpose. The reason being is that we didn't want anyone to come in here and thereafter change any of these documents, be it their file name or move the document, because while Windows will certainly allow you to do so, that would cause Amicus to lose track of that document. So when you move to user managed, Amicus basically locks in those documents. Right? The documents are still here. They are, however, unrecognizable, and you would not be able to view or modify those documents by going into Windows. You would have to go in through Amicus and view or preview the document that way. And we have another question. What happens if a user forgets to check a document back in? That is a fantastic question. So if we check out a document, just quickly check out this document that we currently have. As we saw, right, so we do have this little locked icon that appears, which signifies that the user has or somebody has checked out the document, right? What you can do, of course, as the user, you can cancel the checkout or check it back in. If you are not rather the person that has checked out the document, you can see here who currently has checked out the document. So you would unfortunately have to request that that person check the document back in. All right, next question, can I change back to user managed easily? Yes, you can absolutely do so. Oops, I apologize, that's not what we were looking at. Close that. All right, so as I mentioned before, you have the option to flip between user managed and Amicus managed. It can take some time if you're moving from user managed to Amicus managed, where Amicus will basically audit all of your existing documents and ensure that they are still there and then move those documents over. If you're reverting from Amicus managed back to user managed, it's much faster. Amicus just delinks itself or uncouples itself from those documents, leaves them in place, leaves them linked to whatever existing files they're currently linked to, and then subsequent documents are treated as before, where you can basically add those documents from wherever. Amicus Attorney, the newest version of Amicus Attorney, as I mentioned at the very beginning of today's webinar, it is not yet for public release. It is, however, as I've been told, going to be released very, very soon. And as I said before, you will all be receiving an email to indicate that you are now ready to download and update to the newest version. Back to dealing with checked out documents. Yes, if an Amicus user logs out of Amicus, Amicus will check that document back in automatically. Right? However, if that document is still open in Word, WordPerfect, or whatever program that you're using to edit that, there is, of course, the danger that you could ostensibly overwrite if somebody else checks out the document now and then makes changes, and then you check in. The document that was originally open could potentially overwrite that document. So we do want to ensure that all of our users make sure that if they are going to be logging out of Amicus, they of course are closed out of any documents that they are currently working on. All right. So as always, I like to wrap up our webinars just by pointing out that we do of course offer training for Amicus and all of our Abacus Next products. If you would like to schedule training, you can do so directly from our website, and you can find that by going to abacusnext.com, selecting More, Professional Services, and in this case, Amicus Attorney, and we can select Training, and you can book either 1 or 2 hour sessions. As always, if you have any additional questions, you can feel free to reach out to us at training@abacusnext.com. Sorry, that didn't look like the, okay, looks like temporarily anyway, there we go. You can, as I said, book 1 or 2 hour training sessions. And of course, as I said, you can always reach out to us, training@abacusnext.com. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Hopefully you found this session informative and useful. As always, we are more than happy to help out. Please feel free to get in touch. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you at a future Free Thursday webinar. Thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.